National Council of Jewish Women, Greater Dallas Section. Food+Fit equal Fun, a healthy living program, presents Yoga with BARB. Please consult with your healthcare provider before beginning any new physical activity program. Be sure to ask if there are any exercises or activities that should be avoided, and if your current health condition affects your ability to exercise. The creators, producers, participants, and distributors of this program do not assume liability for injury or loss in connection with the physical activities and advice contained herein.
Consulte con su proveedor de atención médica antes de comenzar cualquier programa nuevo de actividad física. Los creadores, productores, participantes y distribuidores de este programa no asumen responsabilidad por heridas o pérdidas en relación con las actividades físicas y los consejos contenido aquí.
Hi yogis, my name is Barb and I'm here to offer you a short yoga practice today that will hopefully help open, lengthen your body, create space in your body, give you a little strengthening work, and also be super pacifying for the nervous system and for the mind, right? Where a lot of our agitation comes from. And just briefly before we get started, just a couple of bullet points. Excuse me. The first is that this is your practice. So whatever your body is telling you in terms of doing or not doing a pose, listen to your body first, right? It is a brilliant teacher and it's going to give you the information that you need. I will guide you through some different poses and you are welcome to do what you can do and leave the rest behind, right? This is not a competitive practice. This is a practice that says, let's go into our bodies, feel how we're feeling, open some things up, etc., right? So the other thing that I wanted to share is that one of the most common and my favorite definitions of yoga is the idea that it is a practice that stills and quiets the fluctuations of the mind. And oftentimes we know that the mind is, again, what causes us agitation during our day. It's not unusual for most of us. Scientific research has shown this. It's not unusual for most of us to have looping negative thoughts during our day. Repetitive, looping negative thoughts. Things that maybe we thought yesterday or a week ago or a year ago that aren't really serving us, right? Thoughts that aren't really serving us. And this practice, one of its primary definitions, again, is to quiet or to still the fluctuations of the mind. So yes, it is a physical practice for strengthening and opening and creating space in our body, for improving our metabolism, our circulation, our digestion. It does all these amazing things for us physically. Excuse me, but it is also super powerful in terms of calming the nervous system and calming the mind and getting us really on a track where we're focused on the present moment, right? We all know we spend a lot of time in the past worrying about things. We spend a lot of time thinking about the future, worrying about things, right? And this practice is one that really makes you get into your body, get very present, and there's so many benefits to that. So a couple of other bullet points. As I mentioned, do what you can do, leave the rest behind, right? Take a modification if you need. If I say lift a knee, you need to leave the knee on the floor, do so. I am sitting here on the floor in what's called a cross-legged pose. If this is uncomfortable for you, and it might be if you don't sit this way a lot, feel free to find a cushion. This is a big old meditation cushion, or to take a blanket and to fold it up a few times to give you a little lift, and that will often help it be a little more comfortable to sit in this pose. If none of that works and you need to move over and sit on a sofa, or you need to grab a chair and do what you can do with these postures from a chair, please feel free. I think in a lot of cases, people tend to think this practice is not for them, but it is. It's for absolutely everybody because it just asks you to go to your edge, right? You don't have to do the splits. You don't have to do a full back bend practice. You don't have to stand on your head. I rarely do any of those things, but the practice is super accessible when you know that you're just going to do what you can do and you're going to leave the rest behind. And that's going to vary on any given day, right? Because every time we sit down on our mat or on our carpet to begin this practice, we come with different things. We've slept differently, our diet maybe has been different, our stress level. So we bring a different package every time we come to our mat. So remember that if you can come to your practice with the mind of a beginner, no matter how many times you might choose to do this practice, then everything will be fresh and new. You'll be feeling and recognizing what's going on in your body, and you'll be able to respond to that rather than to say, oh, I went this far yesterday, so I have to go further today. Not the case with yoga, okay? So without further ado, we are going to get rolling a little bit. My intention, let's see, my intention is to do about 15 or 20 minutes of movement and then to have you rest in what we call our final relaxation pose. That's where it all gets integrated and you just get to lie down and be still for a few minutes. But we've got to do a little work before we get there, okay? All right, so let's begin with some very simple movement of the upper body. Let your hands rest on your thighs and just start to circle through your torso. And these circles can be whatever size that you feel and whatever speed. The one thing that is the same for all of us is that your breath is going to be flowing together this whole time. And I don't mean that you're going to be inhaling and exhaling at the same time, but you're going to be breathing, big fluid breath. It is the key to this practice. So keep your breath flowing and start to roll through the lower belly and the lower back, and your hands can just rest. And you might start to roll through the whole rib cage. You might start to kind of roll your chest forward and draw your heart back. And you might actually start to add a little bit of movement of the head and neck in. I'm going to remind you throughout this time that this is your practice and you're connecting with what's happening within your body. And all we're going to do now is change the direction of these circles. So just shuffle it around, move the other way, nice and easy. If you hear some crazy meowing in the background, that's my 20-year-old kitty who likes to have attention when she likes to have attention. So often she'll start to let me know. So circling around. This is so good, again, for the digestion. It squeezes and releases all of what's happening, all these organs in the lower belly. Good, come back into neutral and lengthen up through your spine, letting the hands rest down here beside your hips. Again, I'm still up on blankets. You can be on the floor or supported. Roll your shoulders back and down. Take this left arm up to the ceiling and gently stretch up and over toward the right. So this is a lateral side stretch. We want to get in between these left ribs. It's not unusual for the hip to want to follow you off the floor, but I want you to keep the hip and the buttocks down and then reach up and away. So you're getting a stretch that's moving you in two different directions. You're rooting down toward the floor and you're lifting up and over to the right. It is also not unusual for your heart to kind of want to fold forward, especially if you have tight shoulders. And that's common, right? That's where a lot of us keep our stress. So open this chest up, and if you need to, lift your arm a little bit for this last breath or two. Keep breathing, right? And on your next inhale, reach up, release the left hand down. You're probably gonna feel a lot more open on that left side. Let's switch. Let's sweep the right hand up. And let's take the right hand up and over to the left. And again now, open the chest a bit. Roll this right shoulder away from the ear, right? A lot of times it wants to pull up here. Let's soften it away. Anchor the right, what we call sits bone. You can feel that sits bone, the bone you're sitting on that right side. Root it down, reach up and stretch across. One more breath here, opening and lengthening. You can always keep the arm up. You don't have to go further than what you can work with, right? Just find the edge where you're still able to breathe smoothly, gently, fully. And on your next breath, reach up and release the right arm down. Take a moment and roll your shoulders up and back. We take them forward a little bit, lift them up, roll them back. Good. And now we're gonna open this big, spacious area of the heart center and the chest. We're gonna inhale and reach the hands up. And I'd like you to do your best to interlace your fingers behind you, right? So just a little natural interlace. Wrap them up behind you, roll your shoulders back, and try to send the knuckles down to the floor. You can stay where you're sitting. I'm gonna move a little bit so that it's easier to see what I'm doing. Send your interlaced knuckles down towards your mat. And you can see when we reach down, we open up across the chest. And I want you to just gently lift your gaze, roll your shoulders back and down, and breathe fully into your upper chest. That should feel really good. A lot of times, this is an area where the body stores a lot of emotion, right? The heart center. That makes sense. A lot of times it's around loss and grief and worry. So we don't really need to revisit those things. We just can say, let it go. Let's just open this chest, lengthen the throat, soften the shoulders, breathe big. And then come back to neutral with your spine and unlace your fingers and give your arms a shake, right? Give your shoulders a shake. That's pretty intense, right? It's very intense if we don't go there often. So shake everything out. And then we're gonna take a moment, and hopefully you can see me here. I'm gonna back up a little bit. We're gonna shift the feet. So I'm gonna take the front foot and I'm gonna put it in back and vice versa, okay? You may not even notice the difference. But for most of us, we sit the same way every time we come to that position, right? So we might feel like we're a little different, a little out of balance there. But we want to balance and get a little symmetry in those hips. Hands on your thighs, all we're doing is coming back to that circling, that gentle movement. I often recommend just to close the eyes here. Breathe big, breathe fully. You're going at your own pace and you're connecting with your breath. So it doesn't have to be, connecting with my inhales and exhales. And you can be taking small circles. You can be really looping it around. To me, it often feels really good just to go kind of the full spectrum. And then we're going to change the direction. So just sweep it around the other way. And again, come back to that practice of exploring, right? Because our mind is so good at kind of saying, oh, I know what's coming. I've been here before, right? And so it requires an intentional return to the beginner's mind to get back to that place where we're feeling whatever it is as if it's brand new. The ribs, the shoulders, the breath in and out through the nose or the mouth. And we're going to slowly draw our way back up into center. And now we're going to be twisting our spine a little bit. We got those side bodies opened, but now we're going to be twisting, which is another primary movement to keeping a healthy spine. Take your left hand over to your right knee and take this right hand somewhere behind your low back, your tailbone. Again, I'm just going to shift so you can see me, okay? Left hand to the outside of the right knee, the right hand behind you somewhere, right in this area. Inhale and lift up through your heart center and through your crown, and exhale, just twist open to the right a little bit. And again, don't overdo. Take your gaze a little deeper. This is a really good practice to also take your gaze deep and stretch the eye muscles, to activate the eye muscles. Our eyes get so worn out, right? On the phones, on computers, so much of every day for most of us. One more twist. Think about lengthening tall from tailbone to crown. That creates your space. And then you use your space to twist. And the twist is happening right up here in the mid back. See how my low back is nice and even? We don't want to try to twist from the low back. Twist from where your jeans might hit your waist above. And then come on back into neutral, so your heart is facing straight ahead. And all we're going to do is now turn the other way. The right hand is going to slide over to the outside of the the left knee. And our left hand is going to come back behind our tailbone. And you can be on your fingertips or your palms, or if you've got a blanket back there, you can grab your blanket. Inhale, draw tall from your tailbone to your crown, and exhale, twist open to your left. Oftentimes it looks like these poses are static or still, but there's always little shuffles and adjustments that are happening, right? Again, your body, your practice. If you're feeling kind of stuck and you're not able to breathe fully, then maybe you've gone a little too far. Come out a little bit, breathe in, lift the heart again, and when you're ready on your exhale, twist back in again. Twist to the left. And then come on back into center. You're probably going to feel that through your spine, right? It feels really good. We're going to do one more big chest opener here. When you inhale, I want you to sweep your arms up. Breathe big, big inhale. Exhale, we're taking the hands behind us. Once again, we are interlacing our fingers. Now let me show you something. The first time, you just went with a natural clasp, right? You just wrapped your fingers up back there. You knew exactly where you were going. This time, from that natural clasp, I want you to open the fingers and I want you to take them across or shift them one spot over, and I want you to interlace where it feels a little unfamiliar. And I want you to switch the opposite thumb on top. Okay, we're doing this behind our back. So it feels a little awkward. It feels like you're shaking someone else's hands or interlacing your fingers with someone new, right? Roll your shoulders up, back, and down, and drop your knuckles deep. And now think about drawing the lower belly in, but lifting and expanding the upper chest, lengthening up, lifting your gaze a little bit. We don't want our head to be heavy. We don't want to drop it too far back and down. But we do want to really lift our heart and stretch across our chest. Okay, so keep this up for a few more breaths. I'm just going to show you from the side. And I didn't mention this on the last go round, but if it's really challenging for you to get those fingers interlaced, take your fingertips to the floor and lift from there. So we can always do our practice, right? If our shoulders are too tight, well, we just shift and we take fingertips to the mat. Draw the belly and lift the heart for one more breath. And when you exhale, come back into neutral. We unlace our fingers. We're going to shake out the wrists, shake out the fingers, shake out the shoulders, right? I'm coming back to meet you guys in the middle. Shake everything out. Good. Now, assuming you're still okay in this seat, stay here. If you need to adjust, if you need to shake out the legs a little bit, do so. We're going to be here for just a few more breaths. We're going to rest our hands. We're going to lengthen up through the crown, and we're going to circle our head around. Imagine you wanted to lift your nose to the sky And touch your nose down to the right shoulder. You're not going to touch. And then roll your chin towards your chest. And sweep your nose over toward the left shoulder and then lift the nose to the ceiling and continue with that slow, smooth breath. And you might be feeling some crazy crunchiness here through the neck. I often do. Remember to keep your breath flowing, right? And if you've forgotten, don't worry, just come back. And we're going to change the direction of these head rolls. Sometimes when you don't have time to fit a practice into your day, this is a beautiful, beautiful move to help with tension around the jaw, the eyes, the throat, the chest, the shoulders. As you might notice as you roll here, that's all interconnected. All right, come on back into neutral. And then come from a seat onto your palms and your knees. And for me, I like to use one of these blankets to slide under my knees because my knees are tender. We're going to do what's known as the cow and cat sequence. Look like a coffee table here. Get your knees under your hips and get your wrists under your shoulders. And spread your fingers nice and wide as you anchor down. As you inhale, start with the lower belly. Drop the belly toward the mat. Lift your tailbone and lift your crown. And roll your shoulders back. This is cow pose. And as you begin the exhale, pull your lower belly in, round your back to the spine, and the spine to the sky. And then drop your neck, drop your head. As you inhale, drop your belly, lift your tailbone, lift your crown for cow pose. And as you exhale, hug your belly in and round your back into cat pose. Inhaling, drop your belly, lift your tailbone, lift your crown. And exhaling, round your back. Press into your palms, release your neck and your head. And just take one more. Drop your belly, lift, spread your sits bones, lift your crown. And exhaling, round your back, release your neck, your head. And now come back into neutral with your spine. And take a moment to step the right foot forward, okay? And we're going to see about keeping the front ankle in the vicinity under this front knee. So we don't want the foot to be close and our knee to be way forward. And we don't want to have our foot be so far forward that our knee is way back. Just try to work that foot under the knee within a couple of inches, okay? And then go ahead and take the hands up onto the front thigh. This is going to require some balance and some strength. And we're going to press that thigh. We're going to lift the heart. As it becomes available, you might be able to slowly drop the hips a little bit deeper. You're going to be getting into what's known as the left hip flexor, which you can't see on me right now, but you'll feel it. Upper portion of that left thigh, right at that hip crease. And we want to really have strong legs here. We want to feel as though we're pulling that back knee and that front heel together. And when you do that, you're going to feel your thighs engage. You're going to feel your heart lift. You're going to feel very strong in that front leg. And then we're going to reach up into what we call a low lunge. I'm just lifting my fingertips straight up to the ceiling. I'm very long, so you can't always see me in frame. Lift the heart, reach up tall, soften your shoulders. And give that a big, big breath in. And when you exhale, lower the hands slowly around that front foot. All we're going to do from here is take it the opposite direction. We're going to shuffle our hips straight back and start to straighten this front leg. You can see how I have moved my hands because I want to balance myself. And then I'm gonna start to straighten this front leg, but I'm gonna listen to my hamstring and the back of this knee and the calf. So if it's super tight, I'm gonna keep my knee bent, and then I'm gonna lengthen my heart forward to the best of my ability. You can stay tall, that's fine. Take a few breaths, and as the hamstring starts to open up, or if the hamstring starts to open up, begin to draw the hips back a little bit, straighten that leg a little more. And the last little cherry on top here is to pull the toes toward the hip, and that's gonna really activate the back of that leg. So some of you might be super flexible and you can come here right away, but don't be in a rush, okay? And these deep forward bends where our heart is moving forward, they require a lot of patience, which isn't always the most fun thing to work on, but when you have patience, life is so much easier, right? And we're gonna rock ourselves forward. We're gonna have to balance this one out, so just slide this right knee back. Again, things are gonna feel a little different. Take your left foot forward. Remember that idea of keeping the knee and the ankle in alignment, okay? So if you can take hips lower, you have to walk your foot a little further forward. Now, strengthen that front foot, hands to the front thigh, press and lift the heart. I've gotten myself a little wide, so I'm gonna pull in just a little bit. And then I'm gonna press and lift. And now, inhale here, and on the exhale, if you can go lower, do. You don't have to, but now you'll know what I was mentioning. You'll feel that right hip flexor getting a big, big stretch. The front foot is strong, the front leg is strong. We're hugging our energy here into what I call just hugging it into the center, right? And then we're going to take the arms up. We're gonna lift up, deepen into the hips, lift the sternum, maybe lift the gaze. Soften your shoulders. If this is a little too much for you, keep your hands on your thighs, okay? So many options. Ooh, I've got a little wobbliness here. Take a big breath as we lengthen. And on the exhale, we're gonna lower the hands. And we're going to, again now, slowly start to send our hips back, straightening our front leg. My hands are gonna move for balance, and I'm gonna pull my heart forward. You don't have to flex the toes, you can. You don't have to straighten the leg, you can, okay? Lengthen your spine. And just take a couple of breaths, easing into this hamstring, into the calf, into the Achilles down here by the ankle and the heel. Breathing into that little space behind that left knee. And then we're going to draw forward, take the left knee back, and we're going to roll over and sit down onto our beddings. All right. We're going to roll ourselves down onto our backs, so I'd like you to take your time. If you're super strong in the abdominals, you can take a slow roll, rounding your back. If you're still working on your abdominal strength, then be very gentle and work your way down. And come onto your spine. A little hoodie there. And as you come onto your back, take the knees in and just give yourself a little rock side to side. Good. Now, take the arms, send them out to the sides, let them rest. You look like you're starting to be like a big T shape here, okay? And we're just gonna take a big breath with our knees close to our heart. And when we exhale, drop your knees over to the right and take a gentle twist. If your spine is tight, you can always have a blanket handy and you can tuck it under those knees to make your twist more accessible. right? So don't worry if the knees separate or the feet come apart. We're just working to soften and to release the rib cage, the lower belly, the hips, the buttocks, to open the chest to the ceiling. This is so spacious and healing. And with our next breath, we're just going to take our knees back into center. And if you liked something under the knees, you can just take it over to the other side. Because we're gonna get the other side. We're gonna balance things out a little bit. Arms out wide. Remember, on the inhale, pull the knees closer to the heart. And on the exhale, drop the knees to the left. Just take it to your edge. If you need to have something under those knees, do so. I do. It feels really good. And if the feet fall separate or the knees fall separate, that's okay too. And just take a couple of deep, easy breaths here. I haven't mentioned this a lot today, but one of the big things in these practices is to be able to have some softness. Right, in these physical practices, we're used to working hard, to pushing ourselves, but it's always critical to add a little layer of ease and softness into every pose. It allows us to maintain the pose longer with more tranquility, with a smoother breath. Our body is responding to the gentleness and the softness rather than the force. There's so many benefits to that. And we're going to draw our knees back into center. And as you come back into center, first things first, make sure your spine is nice and straight, right? Just take a moment to realign, because when we do these twists, sometimes it can get a little out of whack. And then once it's straight, draw the knees in and just circle or rock these knees side to side a little bit. It's always good for the belly to just give it gentle compression and then release. Right? And we're preparing now for our final pose today. And I'm going to show you what this looks like traditionally. And as you move into it, if it feels good, stay there. If you need to support or adjust your posture at any time, from the beginning all the way through the few minutes we'll be here, I want you to feel free to make any little adjustments, okay? The traditional Shavasana, or final relaxation pose, has us with our legs extended, our heels slightly wide, our toes rolling out. And then our hands come down here beside our body, and they're just a little bit away from the hips. And our palms are facing up and our fingers are soft, and so are our toes. Let me just explain here that Shavasana is a Sanskrit term. It's an old language. And it translates to corpse pose. So you'll already have a good sense of what this pose looks like, right? You're extending the limbs, softening the hands, the shoulders, the gaze. Your eyes are closed. Your jaw is relaxed. Your whole body is melting. This corpse pose, though, does breathe. So keep your breath smooth and natural and easy throughout the whole time. And the breath is the perfect tool at all points in our practice, but especially here, that if your mind gets distracted, you start thinking about lunch or shopping, grocery list, then just acknowledge that and draw your awareness, your attention back to the flow of your breath, okay? Now, if you're comfy here, stay here for the next few minutes, and I will guide you out. If the low back is showing up and you have a little tension or tightness somewhere, you are always more than welcome to bring some props, to create a pillow. I've got this big old meditation pillow here. Sometimes I use it under my knees and legs. That gives a little ease on the low back. And if you get here and it's a little chilly wherever you are practicing, You can always grab an extra layer, a blanket, a jacket, and you can lay it all the way over you, or you can put it right here across the belly. Whatever you can imagine you can do here in this pose for your own comfort, your own ease. These are the minutes where our body and mind integrate the movement and the breath that you just put all that time and energy into. So take your time here. And as often as you need, draw your awareness back to your breath. Now I'm going to guide you through a little bit of a visualization exercise, but you don't need to work at focusing. If it makes sense for you to listen to it, great. If it makes sense for you to just let it flow through you, that's perfect. As you rest in Shavasana, soften your scalp, relax your eyes, relax your jaw. Imagine a wave of softness moving through your throat and your neck, your upper chest, your upper back. And before we leave this area, let your brain sink deep into the base of the skull, and let your eyes, your eyeballs, sink deep into their sockets. And let this softness move down through the arms, relaxing your fingertips. Let it continue in a slow, smooth, warm wave, moving down through your torso, into the lower belly, into the hips, continuing to flow through the buttocks, through the upper thighs, down through the knees and lower legs, a wave of softness flowing down through the ankles and into the feet, into the toes, and just flowing gently out through the soles of your feet, the whole body resting gently, deeply onto your space, onto your mat or your floor. Let yourself rest. Now, if you have the good fortune to be able to stay in this pose for a while longer, please do. And you can reach over and you can stop the video, or you can just let the video continue, but you can stay in this powerful, beneficial resting position, this pose of relaxation, of comfort, of ease. For those of you ready to return, we will begin to deepen and to lengthen our breath. And as you do, begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Maybe take a couple of gentle circles with your ankles and your wrists. And then wherever you are, you might be all bundled up or supported, you can still stretch your limbs. If you need to move some things out from underneath you, you can do that. And then from that big long stretch of the full body, we're going to take our nose and our knees up close. We're going to circle our body into a big loving hug. Squeeze in. This is you. Give yourself a big beautiful hug. Add a little bit of softness as you squeeze into the smallest ball possible. Big, big breath.
And then we're going to release that hug. We're going to roll onto one side or the other and just rest your head along your arm. And just take a couple of breaths here. I often call this pose the pose of contentment. So it's a perfect time to return to your intention for your practice. And then we're going to draw ourselves back up to seated. And again, just create a comfortable seat for yourself. One that allows you to lengthen your spine. And we'll draw our hands softly into our heart center. We'll close our session together today with the yoga blessing of Namaste. And this blessing translates to the idea that the light, the divine light, the radiance, the grace that's within me reflects and honors that absolutely radiant grace, light, energy, beauty that is within you. So together we will share Namaste. Thank you so much, yogis. I'm noticing my time. This class extended to 40 minutes. I think I shared with you that it was going to be 15 or 20. But hopefully you've enjoyed it and you can make that work within your schedules. Again, my name is Barb and I am grateful to be bringing this yoga class to you. Have a peaceful day. The more you practice, the more peace you will cultivate in your own life. And that is such a beautiful gift for yourself and for everybody that you come into contact with, right? The ripples of that peacefulness are so powerful and so beautiful. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining Food+Fit = Fun's program today. Find out more about the National Council of Jewish Women Greater Dallas Section's Healthy Living Program at www.ncjwdallas.org and www.facebook.com/groups/NCJW Lesson materials are available in English and Spanish.